When we ask clients how they do a process, we're often met with a bit of a blank face. I'm Jamie Claret from Automate, and this is Questions from the Boardroom, where we tackle the big questions that leaders are asking. This week's question is, I'm not really sure we understand how our business works, so how are we going to tell you how to use AI and automate? So most teams that we speak to, rather surprisingly, from medium-sized companies up to some very, very big companies, don't actually understand their workflows and how the work is done. I know that might sound like madness, but most of us work on a kind of habit and instinct, but we just do it because it's the way that we've been shown to do it, and that passes down and passes down and passes down. And this causes two challenges when you're trying to do AI and automation. So the very first challenge is, how do you do the process? Most people are just doing it, but to understand how these things work is so important to the AI and automation, because we need to program the system to kind of replicate some of that and know how to deal with edge cases. What happens if this happens? What happens if that happens? And a lot of that is currently in people's heads. So that's the first challenge. The second challenge is that often a process has just grown and evolved over time, and no one's ever asked the question, why do you do it that way? And that's important because often a lot of what we do is process improvement. Because we're looking at it as a third party, we're looking at it externally, we're able to look at these processes and these systems and ask, why do you do it that way? Why do you copy the data from that place to that place when actually it could just go from there to there? And often we're met with things like, oh, it's just the way that we do things, which is fine. So understanding the business processes and workflows is really, really important. It will also expose inefficiencies. Again, because we're looking from the outside in, we can often see where data is moving around, and we'll produce documentation that shows this. And often people will come and say, oh, why do we go kind of around the houses and do this and do that? It's a great way just to improve the processes. So if nothing else, you're going to understand how the process works, and you're going to be able to understand where the inefficiencies are. So don't feel bad about not knowing what your processes are. If anything, this exercise in itself produces massive value to a business, because for the first time, they're really able to see how things are moving around, what's happening, who's doing what, and why they're doing that. And then once we're able to understand that, then there becomes so many obvious opportunities for AI and automation to improve parts of that process. Often it's not all of the process, it will be parts of it. And that's why it's so important to understand these things. But don't feel bad. We're yet to meet a customer or a client where they've got absolutely impeccable documentation. Thanks.